You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. How are you? And I have missed you. I do apologize for some of these things not going on as quickly as they should have been, but it is football season at the job, and things have gotten hectic. So, yes, not always the stuff that's airing on the national front is the things that go across the board. I mean, it's HBCU Go. It's local football games. I mean, it's even the World Chase Tag that got me kind of occupied there for a little while. But we're still here, and I'm still watching WoW when I can, and still doing the reviews. But because I'm in a little bit of a time warp, so to speak, I mean, I'm out of sequence in when and how I've done this. This is an edition that we're going to go past the news, views, and updates section, despite the fact that I love doing that, and we're going to go right into the meat of the matter. So let's do that, folks. Let's get to that episode that I hadn't put up yet, because this is one of the ones that I did want to talk about. The episode was episode 302. The title was Big Opportunities. The number chronologically 106, the original air date, September 21st. So, this episode begins with Miami Sweet Heat and Lana Star. Lana Star comes out praising Sweet Heat for regaining the Wild Tag Team Championships for the fourth time. She puts them over as a top team, and more importantly, she puts over the Tag Team Championships. Within the course of her promo, and let me stop right there and just say, because every time I talk about Lana doing these promos, I find myself being more and more taken with her promo. It's like, I don't know if the light switch went off and it finally clicked, but I feel less of an acting performance, more of I'm being a manager. Because I don't want her or anybody coming out there trying to do memorized verbiage unless you are just exceptionally good at it. I cannot say for certain whether I say this every time she does the promo. I cannot say for certain whether she hasn't practiced it in the back or workshopped it or whatever the case would be, and those things are fine. She has developed some oomph behind it. There seems to be emotion in there, or at least emotion as related to Lana Star, the character on TV, and what she's saying. The promos that she has done have largely fit for her. And in fact, I would go this far to say that she's probably better on the mic than either of Miami Sweet Heat at this point, which is somewhat shocking. She goes on to refer to the titles, like I said, as the most... She puts the titles over, but she refers to them as the most prestigious titles in all of women's wrestling. Now, whether I agree with that or not is a moot point. I would think that anybody that's listening to me on this podcast would probably know that I don't agree with that logic, that Wild's Tag Team Championship or any of their championships are the most prestigious titles in women's wrestling. I don't buy that. However, having said that, this is exactly what Lana Star needs to say. Like I said, regardless of whether I agree with it or not is not the point. She is talking to her audience. She's not talking to me. And she needs to get those titles over as something worth going after and keeping and maintaining. Before this point, we really didn't hear any real justification as to why she wanted it. She just wanted the titles. And of course, if you're a heel, in a heel faction with a heel manager, you should want it, but they just never really got into the why. Like, this will get us more money, or it'll get us more opportunity, or do this or do that. And maybe they said something loosely, I know the commentators have always talked about the titles. My only issue with the commentators talking about titles is that David McClain is talking about the titles. As long as he's doing it, it kind of takes some value off of it. And not because he's a bad guy. It's just that it's very common knowledge that this is his baby. And as such, he is going to say that. But when you have the participants in there saying it, it does carry a little bit more weight. So, Lana makes her declarative promo, puts over her team, and her excitement about, like, just gushing with excitement that she's happy that, we've got the titles back. We got a tag team championship match that we're going to, take care of later on tonight, this, that, and the other. I enjoyed this. I thought that she did a fine job. She's probably not going to go down in history as one of the greatest managers of all time. It would take some more time and effort for her to get to that point, but I do feel the growth that she has had in her career. I have said before, did not care for her as a wrestler. As a manager, I think that she's found her groove, at least within this context. The next thing that happens is the mother truckers are shown in the locker room, right? This is the next segment. And they're suddenly concerned about the money they have to pay back. Now, bear in mind, this is coming off of the mother truckers having not only lost the tag team titles to Miami Sweet Heat, which is part of why that opening promo was there, the celebration for that. But they also lost the ability to skate out of that bill that they ran up. You remember the same bill that Big Rig Betty was like, you too cheap to pay this bill, ha, ha, ha. Remember that? Well, now all of a sudden there's concern and feel, I don't know what we're going to do. How are we going to pay this money back? Like, there is a lack of consistency with them. It would probably have worked better if the mother truckers weren't so brazen about pay this little bill back. You so cheap. If there had been some level of concern, maybe this would fit a little better for me. But they had absolutely no regard for the money that was being spent when they were spending it. They had absolutely no regard for the bill that they got when they got it. And only when faced with, I have to pay this now or else face consequences, does it become a concern. The mother truckers in this equation are not good people. The Wild has not done a good job with most of their protagonists, but they certainly have not, well, other than Ariel Scott, because she was the worst of them. But they certainly have not done a good job with the mother truckers. They should be sympathetic in this environment, but they're not. How can they be? The entirety of their run in WoW has shown them to be questionable at best. That's the best thing I can say from them. They've shown themselves to be questionable at best as it relates to money. I'm sure I've talked about it at some point in time, but I'm just going to do a brief recap on their doings. When they first showed up on the WoW's television, rather than to be paid to tow the car of Lana Star and her cohorts, they accepted tickets to WoW. Just think about that for a second. They accepted tickets instead of getting the money that they was going to get for doing their job. Now, we're going off of what they have in their own universe, right? They're allegedly tow truck drivers. They should have been getting paid for it just to begin with, but no. Wow, you got tickets to oh, mama, let's go. So they just forego money and took that. Now, the only exception to that rule that I would have ever had is if it was something like, hey, I don't have any money, but here's tickets to this year's Super Bowl. All you got to do is get there and this will get you in. Like, if that were the case, take the Super Bowl tickets. Because those things are probably worth 3 times the amount of anything that they were going to get, towed. Or Final Four tickets, or WrestleMania, or, something like that. And I understand that they tried to make WoW look like this big thing, but come on. It ain't big, even in their universe. Even on their TV, it does not justify like, hey, well, I'll just forget the money. I'll take this. That's their first sign of showing that they didn't know anything about money. Them going to jail after having their truck stolen, and rather than doing a sensible thing like calling the police, they decided to track it down across country somehow. It's from California to Tennessee. I don't know how they did that, but they do. And then they get arrested for some unknown reason. And what do? They call the heel attorney because that makes sense. And then when she gets him out, fair and square, gave them the proposition up front, you're going to owe me. They accepted it and then turned it back to that. Again, I know what I was trying to do. They were trying to make them like, oh, well, we don't want them to bend to the evil of Sophia Lopez. Well, then they should have set it up different. It should have been Sophia Lopez put in a position where they had to accept her help. But they were forced into it, or there were no other options. But they chose to do that. They're not victims in almost any situation that they've been in. They've never been victims to this. That's the second time that they showed that they do not have any concept of what $1 is worth. And then we get to this. Of course, after they, completely reneged on what Sophia Lopez did for them. And I'm sure in a kayfabe universe, having a lawyer get you out of jail after flying to some undisclosed location wasn't cheap. So we get here. The mistaken identity situation, the sitcom bit that they did on WoW. And they run up this massive bill, which was originally noted as being 10 grand. Okay? And they made that clear when they did it. It was originally 10 grand. So keep that in mind. They accept the fight or the match, lose, and now we're here. Suddenly there's concern. Suddenly there's, oh, wow, what I don't know what we're going to do. That $10,000 is, we don't have that kind of money. Now, there's 2 things I got out of this. And I know I'm probably reading deeper into it than WoW ever wanted anybody to do, which is why this show should not be on at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock at night where adults are watching it. It should be at 5 in the afternoon or 12 noon like they just did in Philly. I know I said before, the Philadelphia broadcast for Sundays, they moved it. It used to come on at 11 o'clock at night. Now they moved it to 12 noon Sunday, which is probably a death spot for them, quite honestly. But it's better there than in the middle of the night where kids can look at it and they won't be concerned about little things like logic. So they show this concern over the money and they don't know what they're going to do. But like I said, in a real world environment, they should be able to pay that. Do you know how much money the people that drive those trucks make? I'm not saying that they would want to do it. And I'm not even saying that they would have like an easy 10 grand just sitting around. But it's not like that wouldn't have been something that she shouldn't have been able to pay. In their universe, they work 2 jobs. They work as tow truck drivers and they wrestle. But clearly in WoW, you wrestle for free because they don't have any money or the ability to even try to pay it. So go figure. 2 jobs can't do that. One of them being I am a star on national television, and I don't have this. They should be talking to Dave McClain about that right now. Say, hey, I'm on syndicated national TV. I don't get any kind of money. Good grief. Anyhow, moving on. Next segment in the first match of the show was the Brat Pack versus the Dojo Defenders. This had all the potential and the promise of being a reasonable match. And I guess I don't know if I had brought it up before. We know that Lauren Hunkley, I can't remember her last name. She's no longer there. So we got a new ring announcer who basically is just a clone of Lauren. Has not a style of her own. This following contest is scheduled for 1 fall, holds the mic up just like everybody else did, or just like Lauren did. So anyhow, the Brat Pack. They come out first, and then we got the Dojo Defenders. This, like I said, it had the promise of something, but that's long gone. This match had no heat. And besides the opening rap and the commentators bringing it up with the little smart window in the bottom left of the screen, you would have not known anything about this match or anything between the two of them, the two teams that had taken place. You wouldn't have known anything about it. It would have just seemed like a normal match because it didn't work any differently. It didn't come off as any differently. It didn't seem like there was any sort of animosity between the two other than, just like I said, a line or two given by BK Rhythm. Tara Strike didn't look like she was overly concerned. BK Rhythm didn't look like she was mad about anything at all. It was another match that pretty much meant nothing. It meant nothing. The Brat Pack has not, up until this point, shown any growth. And at the beginning of the match, it started off with Rhythm and Tara Strike. Strike teases the series of kicks again at the beginning, where Rhythm's like, no, don't do it. You know, that might be another little nod to it, I guess. But as she kicks, and she being Strike, this time she kicks high. Rhythm ducks down and she goes for a roll-up. And then we get the series of palm strikes. And I'm just going to implore her right now that unless she's over with that audience, you might want to retire those palm strikes. It's not that I don't think that she could deliver them legitimately well. I don't think that she's delivering them legitimately well there. And if they're not going to be delivered well in that environment, you might as well just stop doing it. Because on TV, all that shows. And never mind the fact that, I said previously, when one person does something wrong on WoW or perceived as wrong, everybody does something wrong with a lot of people's eyes. If Tara Strike were at a point where she was super over, or the team of the Defenders, the Dojo Defenders, God, I hate that stupid name. I hate all the stupid names. But if it was the case of the Defenders being over like a top team, and they people was raving for them and buying their stuff and couldn't wait to see them in action and things like that, then yes, I could buy the idea of, she would be able to get away with the palm strikes, because when you're over or you're popular, people tend to look past whatever flaws you may have. And they aren't there yet. They aren't at a point where people would be able to look past that. In fact, I would say WoW at this point is in the opposite position, where some people look for a reason to say that they did something wrong. Anytime I go to my job and and it's Saturday or Sunday morning, we're looking at either that initial broadcast or the replays that come on the next day, there's almost always somebody in that room who is looking for it to be wrong. Even if they don't admit that they do it, there are people in that room that are looking for it to be wrong. And as a result, they find issues because they want an issue. Look at how she did that. She did that. They don't, and it's almost always the same comment. They don't do it like that in WWE. You get that. She messed that up. Oh, she did that. Did you see that? It's all of those comments. Even when nothing happened. And then there's times when I'm like, no, that was fine. That was okay. They didn't do anything wrong. You have to do it because they start looking for issues. And that's what I mean with these palm strikes. It's not that it's necessarily wrong. It's just, WoW at this point has to be as tight a product as they can possibly make it to make people want to see this and stay tuned to it and have some kind of reason to come back. This was no reason to come back. This, like I said, in fact, if you did not know that they had some issue, nothing in the match would have ever related to that this was some sort of I'm mad at you proposition. It was just a match that just happened to have two people that one of them got hit in the mouth. If you listen to this, you know that I do love me the Brat Pack, the BK Rhythm and Gigi Gianni. I think very highly of them as a team. But I also think that they are wasted, at least until I see something different. At this point, they are a wasted commodity on this show. They probably will never get the tag team titles. I don't know if they're ever going to do anything of significance to where they're going to actually have some sort of winning run. But they are very good. I would even say, with all due respect to Miami Sweet Heat, I feel like they are a better team in terms of the nuances of what they do in the ring. I feel like they are better at the little things, the facial expressions, being able to change on the fly, keeping yourself positioned to where that something happens. It doesn't look like I'm just standing here like a goof waiting on it to hit me. I think they are better with the small things in that ring than the tag team champions are right now. And that's nothing against the tag team champions. I'm just saying, this is just my opinion. But I don't know whether they're ever going to gain anything from that. So anyhow, Gianni looks great. Just get into the end of it because Gianni does come in and she takes a good chunk of the match. But it's not like the last time where Rhythm was hurt and they were trying to protect her because she does get back in there. And who's the other one? It's not Tara Strike, but crap. I can't even remember her name now. Yeah, it'll come back to me probably in the middle of me talking. But anyhow, just whatever it was, Karakai. That's goddamn. I don't know why I couldn't get her name out. Karakai. All right, so she's the one that they get the heat on during this match. Rhythm is in there. And, that there's some nice spots in there where she rolls up. She's trying to fight. She's trying to get back underneath. There was a point where it looks like it was a tight punch in the mouth or what should have been a clothesline, but she might have been too close to Rhythm. I didn't even mind that because it still, it kept itself moving. So anyhow, it finishes off because, everything else that took place here wasn't of any real consequence. Gianni did a nice little senton roll on Kai. But, of course, she manages to make the tag and gets good old Tara Strike back into the ring. Now, there is one spot there that I thought it was a little bit off. When Gianni has Kai in the corner. Kai fights out from BK Rhythm. Gianni charges in. She catches a boot in the mouth. That was fine. Well, in the chest, actually. And then Kai comes out, and it looks like she was trying to come with a charging kick, a front kick, but she was just a little bit off in where she was standing. So she did it a tad early, and it shows. This is one of those cases of like, well, that the cameras show everything. And they showed that. It made it very evident that she was a little bit ahead of herself. But the move still went fine. Gianni sweeps the leg out from underneath her when she catches it. And Kai pretty much flips through and gives her like a heel kick to the top of the head, which makes Gianni tag out and Rhythm in. Terror Strike comes in. She hits Gianni, and then she starts off on Rhythm. Gianni is down. And we know that this is going to finish off on Rhythm and Strike. She being Gianni, did manage to save her partner at least once. But that was not good enough as Kai gets back into the ring to save her partner from what was assumed to be a double suplex. Referee didn't do anything about it, just kind of stood there. And then they get the two of them out of the ring. The two legal ladies stay in. Rhythm is able to get a roll-up in. She's not able to get the pin, though. And then she's popped in the head with an enziguri by Terror Strike. 1, 2, 3. She's done. This should be finished. It wasn't really a feud to begin with. They already let that ship sail. They should have did something with it, but they didn't. And the fans are very happy out there, but I go back to that stunt show analogy. It really feels like to me that they just showed up at a stunt show and they just like cheering the moves. Charlie Wu is a good ref, but Wow's refs, I don't know when or why or how they got the instructions that they got, but it's like they don't even attempt to stop stuff anymore. They just stand in the corner like, hey, guys, what are you doing? So I don't know what that is. He looks more like a adult referee. All due respect to Scheinberg, because all season long I was giving him crap. But yeah, he looks like a adult referee. He just did not act as an authority figure in this instance. Next segment. Commentators pitched a video package featuring the Fierce Sisters. The package was nice. I cannot get on them for the video package. If there's anything that I've said about WoW and their the production that they've had, it's always been pretty good. I cannot look at them and be like, oh, well, this is awful. And no, it was produced very well, shot very well. I would have liked to have seen more things like this before. I've never liked how they present it, because it's almost like a sure thing. If they do anything production-wise with anybody, it's a shoe-in that they're going to lose. And this was not any different. Sorry, spoiler. But it's all. But they showed some real-life versions of them. It wasn't just, hey, we're the Fierce Sisters. They actually showed them like not home movies, but personal pictures, them in college, them in grade school, them at home. This is how you get people over as relatable to the audience. And this is fine. I wish I could say that it made a difference here, but it doesn't. It looked great, and it positions them as real people. Very little in this package is relative to wrestling, although that can be, I don't want to say up in the air, because if they come back to it at some point where they, build on their personalities, then it might build into the wrestling side of things. But this was a nice opening, to let you know who they are and what their motivations were. Why was this not part of, Foxy's deal 2 seasons ago? They just pretty much had it like, hey, I'm a roller skater, and she's out in the park and stuff. They didn't get into her personal background. But that aside, it does have a better tone to show this. And it probably was better that they did it this way when her sister got there. It makes both of them relatable. However, their trend of profiling, I don't want to use that term, their trend of making profile packages for competitors directly before they have a match, the trend of that continues. It means that they're about to do a job, and that's what somebody had to do a job this day, and that person was Roxxy Fierce. Next segment, Classmaster versus Roxxy Fierce. Classmaster comes out with Samantha Smart doing her normal Classmaster crap. Roxxy Fierce comes out with Foxy Fierce, and for some goddamn reason, she walks right off to the commentating booth. So let's stop right there. I found the logic of this terribly wrong. The last time we saw the Fierce sisters at this point, they were, at least for a little while, beaten up by 5 different people, 2 of which are in that ring right now. Samantha Smart and the Classmaster. If I see a situation such as that, I don't know if I'm going to leave my partner alone. Even if you take that off the table, let's just say that they were never jumped at all. Let's just assume that the Classmaster, Samantha Smart, Chainsaw Siren, Angelica Dante did not beat up the Fierce sisters, which the Fierce sisters barely sold by the time they walked out of the ring, by the way. So let's just assume that that never took place. Even if you were going to go with that logic, why would Foxy Fierce come out to ringside, leave her sister to stand there with somebody that you know cheats on a regular basis? It's not like it's a secret. It's not like you haven't been in this company for 2 years and not seen the Samantha Smart do her thing. That was my first issue with this. I was like, why is she going over there to the commentating booth and just, hey, David? I didn't understand this. The Classmaster does, like I said, Classmaster stuff. She's got to be funny or try to be, I don't know if she's trying to be funny, but she does goofy stuff. Gets out there and starts, doing a mock dance from something that was popular like 10 years ago. She starts this match, and before I even go into the moves of the match, let me just say this, because Roxxy. Foxy should have been at ringside. Roxy's in the ring. Roxxy Fierce looks good. Visually. I'm not talking about her in-ring work. Roxxy Fierce looks good. She does have the potential of a star presence. However, Roxxy Fierce, and I am going to be clear to say this, was not ready for this match. I'm sorry, she wasn't. Also, the Classmaster was not the person that she needed to be facing on the other side of that ring. It just was not the right combination for these two. Roxy should still be in tag matches and being covered up after her shortcomings and learning what she's doing. Foxy's probably not that much better, but at least she has a little bit more experience than her sister. But this was not the match for them to have. She should have been in the ring with somebody who is far more polished, who could carry her in the match and keep her from doing things that she probably was not prepared to do, or keep the spots simple. In this match, it felt like some stuff either had to have been forgotten or the communication was off here and there. Cameras did not help it. It wasn't a good match. It just wasn't. I'm sure somebody out there was like, man, this match was great, because they always say that. But no, this should not have taken place. Let's just go through some of what took place in this match. And maybe you can chime in on whether I'm being overly critical or not. So the match starts. First off, I've said so many times, if the Classmaster's one defining characteristic that she has on WoW is the fact that she's 6'2", stop putting her in the ring with, against, and around people that are comparable in size until it means something. Having her come out there and the 6'2" Classmaster standing next to the 6 foot tall Samantha Smart does not help anything. She should have had a smaller manager. And I know the only reason that she's with Samantha Smart is because they gave her this goddamn gimmick of the Classmaster. What does that even mean? So they start off, and then you basically got like a not a test of strength, but it's who's stronger here. We run into each other. We got shoulder blocks, and Roxxy's like, come on, do it again. And that, you want me to run into the ropes? They're doing that spot. So they try it again, and then there's another shoulder block. Whoa, nobody moves. So right there, we've taken away the Classmaster's size and strength as a dominating factor. When Roxxy tries to make a run for it, Classmaster gives her a clubbing blow in the back of the head, which really doesn't do all that much because she goes down for a second, then she's right back up in the face. So, I don't know. Roxxy gets the Classmaster down on the second ropes, then she gives her like a little seated splash on the ropes. Then it looks like she's just trying to remember what she needs to do next as she goes over there and gets in 3-point position stance. She comes in with a splash, then she does it again, sends it to the other side of the ring. Then she does a cartwheel for no apparent reason and then gives her the Classmaster drop kick. That cartwheel looked awful, and that should be retired immediately. That cartwheel... And a cartwheel on his own is not some sort of, like, this is going to ruin your career, kid. No, I'm not saying that. But I just said it earlier. Everything's caught on that camera. And there are people that watching this show look for a problem. And this stuff like that has to be tightened up. The cartwheel looked like a 5-year-old. Any parent out there that knows exactly what I'm talking about, because almost every kid does it. They'll want to do one, and they can't really. They can do the role, but they can't really do it right. That's what that looked like. It's like, I can do the cartwheel. Look at me, and it just didn't quite deliver. But she does it, and then she gives a drop kick, and Classmaster's down and trying to get herself through, but she's able to kick out. Then she does the power thing. She starts battling back. People in the audience are with their thunderclappers. I am really convinced that either that's the only piece of merchandise that WoW sells, or everybody that walks into that building gets one handed to them for free. Because like all season long last year, like everybody has thunderclappers, and now it's the same thing. Everybody has thunderclappers. So, I don't know. Anyhow, Roxxy Ferris is snap married. Classmaster's in control. The botches have not begun to happen yet. It was kept relatively simple up to this point. I have not been a fan of her using the submission, but it's part of her shtick now, so you might as well go with it. She's got the scholar collar locked in on Roxxy Ferris, but it didn't mean anything because within 2 seconds, Roxxy Ferris was already battling out of it, which is why I don't really particularly care for the scholar collar. or whatever she wants to call it. It would be a different thing if she were getting close to tapping somebody out or something like that, but Roxxy literally was fighting out of that thing within seconds. So I don't know if that would be a good submission hold necessarily. Roxxy gets up and she gives some clotheslines to the Classmaster, who does not go off of her feet. Now she's playing the role of the big bad monster. Roxxy tries it again, and then she gets caught with a knee lift into the guts. And then the Classmaster's like, all right, it's forearm shot, knee lift, forearm, and then we'll do the leg drop thing across the back of the head. And I don't know where the timing of that went to because it didn't work out well. Roxxy goes down pretty much before the thing, before she drops. It looked more like the Classmaster gently pushed her leg on the back of Roxy's head rather than she gave her a leg drop from the standing position. So that didn't look too good. But then they followed that up seconds later with I don't know what the hell it was supposed to be. But the Classmaster goes into the ropes. She comes back. Maybe it was supposed to have been an axe kick, or maybe it was supposed to have been a DDT. I don't know. It could have been a DDT. The only thing that even remotely saved that little spot is that it was in a camera angle that couldn't see it fully. So they had this little thing, and that kind of got screwed up too. Classmaster goes for a cover. Roxxy kicks out of that. And then she just immediately goes for a dragon sleeper, and Classmaster's down. Of course, Foxy is in the commentating booth rooting her sister on, like, yeah, I still don't understand why she wouldn't be out there, because the next thing that happens, Samantha Smart gets up on the apron. This would have been something that could have been neutralized if Foxy was standing there at ringside, but for whatever reason, she just like, oh, she's fine. And even seeing Samantha Smart get up on the apron and I'm 10 feet away, she didn't do anything. She didn't get up, didn't come out there, didn't try to, nothing. Just, I see Samantha Smart there. Oh, no. That pretty much was the extent of that. So that gets Classmaster out of the submission hold. And then it looks like, and I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably right. I'm going to say 8. I give 8 out of 10 odds that I'm right about it. Foxy gets into the corner. Classmaster comes in for the charge, and she actually connects. But I don't think that she was meant to connect with that, because it looked like she had a little stutter step there before she actually hit. And then they followed up like with her doing the same thing 3 more times and missing. So I can't imagine why she would hit her first and then like all of a sudden I'm missing you. But she starts off, she runs into the corner and splashes her. They use the cinematic camera to capture that, which I still am not fond of that camera. Classmaster sends Roxxy to the other side of the ring, and then we try it again. This time she charges and Roxxy gets out of the way. Classmaster shows how smart she is because she stopped. Brains. I have brains. She tries it for a second time, and then she stops again. And for whatever reason, looks like she's completely out of breath. I don't know what this was. Like, she ran into the corner, and it was just like, I stand here and I'm breathing there like, what? Something there just was wrong. I don't know what the spot was supposed to be. I assumed that Roxxy was supposed to come back in there if the Classmaster was standing there waiting. But suddenly she was just like completely tired and unable to move in the corner. And you can see that she's saying something to her opponent from across the ring. So Roxxy comes out of the corner that she just got to, and then she tries to go up to the Classmaster, who comes out of the corner with a boot that was all completely off the mark. Like, Roxxy didn't even attempt to duck or anything. She just whiffed the move, and then it's like, all right, well, we missed that. Then she charges back in for a drop kick. Then a clothesline. Classmaster stays on her feet. There was a reversal. Roxxy gets sent over, and then she's tossed to the other side by the Classmaster. I despise saying that name. Classmaster builds Roxxy off again. This time, when she walks up, she does connect with the big boot, and then she comes off with the leg drop. And it was a very nice leg drop. But Roxy kicks out of that, and then they get a good shot of the Classmaster being angry and frustrated. So, towards the end, now, like I said, we've had our little spots here in the match. Fans are clapping with their thunderclappers. Foxy is sitting there not bothering to help her sister. Meanwhile, Samantha Smart's prowling around ringside. I guess that was not a big enough deal for her to do anything. Classmaster sends Roxy into the turnbuckle. She comes back out, catches with a shoulder block. Classmaster doesn't go down, but after a series of moves, she actually gets her down to like a knee. They get a close-up shot on the Classmaster cocking her arm like, all right, it's clothesline time. She misses. Roxy gets her, and then she actually shoulder blocks her down. Now, that's a spot that's been done in wrestling for a long time. The old hero finally gets the immovable object off their feet. The problem here is that we've seen the Classmaster knocked off her feet multiple times. So it doesn't really work as well. She had lost the aura of being the biggest, baddest thing there some time ago. She lost that before she even got rolling in this company. So this spot was more or less pointless. It didn't help Roxy that she was able to get her off her feet. It might have helped her if she was the first person to do it, while everybody else has tried and tried and tried. And lo and behold, here's Roxy, and she shows some guts and she shows some heart, and she gets her down. But like I said, we've seen the Classmaster go down several times. We've seen her knocked off her feet several times. So this didn't really help anything. It didn't give any sort of oomph behind Roxy for having accomplished this. Whereas, you would have had people like, oh my gosh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan just knocked down Yokozuna for the Giant goes down for the first time or something like that. That was not the case here. It was just another move in the match, and I don't think that audience really cared to begin with. So now we introduce another finish, and that's another thing. While competitors seem to have like a different finish a week, so it's hard to get used to something. But Roxy gets her down. She tries to go for the cover. Classmaster kicks out. And then she tries to go for who knows what. I'll just assume it was a pile driver or something to that effect. But because she's in that position, the Classmaster just stands up, and Roxy's pretty much locked into hanging onto her back. And she's trying, to be positioned well. You can see them getting themselves, I guess, to where Roxy's positioned safely, and that's good. But Classmaster drives her down, and what used to be known as a kryptonite crunch. I don't know I forget what they called it here. Or the detention driver. Yeah, I wrote it down. So Classmaster wins. Foxy being out there was absolutely pointless. It was just pointless. If you can't get out there and be at ringside for Jones, what was the point behind her going to commentary? Especially in an environment like that. I can see if it was somebody else that didn't have any beef with, or it was somebody else that they didn't have a manager. But in this case, it was both of those things. There's beef with this person. This person also has a manager. Why are you leaving your sister to the wolves, so to speak? And just over there having a conversation with David McLean. Did not seem like a smart thing to do. After the match, Smart cuts a promo on the Classmaster being the rightful champion. Wow, I don't know what to say about that. It's nice that she's cutting a promo. I have long advocated that they needed to do that, but I also don't see where the Classmaster gets any oomph or gets any sort of push or going back up to the championship or whatever, I just don't see it because they've already more or less ruined her. She is not some sort of threat to the beast. She doesn't even exist in the same atmosphere as a championship. Now, maybe they'll throw it on her for whatever reasons. I don't know. Maybe she'll get a belt this season. I don't know. But if it does, it's going to be probably as illogical as most other things that WoW will tend to do from time to time. So this match had a couple of misses and a couple of awkward spots. The note that I put down here is, why did this make air? Why did this make air? This is a type of match that belongs at a high school gym somewhere. And I don't say that to say anything wrong with those environments or to be mean, but that's where the people learn, the armories, the gyms, the place like that. And if you get a match that's better than what that environment would normally entail, then great. But this should not have been on national television, especially in a taped environment. This should not have made national television. This thing was shot and edited, and if anything, they should have said, maybe we should pull this match and put something else in here because it ain't looking good. And yeah, I know that they feel like WoW is a big thing, and it's we got our fans and all that stuff like that, and their fans are going to be very forgiving to them. But you don't want to give the impression that anything can just make air with WoW, or that anybody that gets on WoW is, as long as they're there, then we're great. And it kept carrying on and on about her being, she's a trainee from the WoW facility. It's like, this is not the match to advocate for your training facility. It's just not. That match should not have been the one to be like, yeah, you can train with WoW. It's reasons like that where I go back to saying I just have a hard time accepting or agreeing with David McClain on that we have the best women wrestlers in the world. You have some of them. But that roster overall, the bad oftentimes outweighs the good. It's a shame, but that is true. The next match and segment, Sylvia Sachez taking on Tormenta. Now, why is this match taking place, you may ask? Well, because Sylvia Sachez was part of the situation that smacked Sofia Lopez in the face, and now Tormenta was standing up for her rights and getting even with her. Even though this happened 5 months ago. Why is this? And it wouldn't be bad. Like, the match on its own is fine. This is where I say that WoW's narrative will just ruin stuff. And that is what happened here. The match was fine. I had no problems, nor did I walk into this match feeling like it was going to be, a problem or issue or worthless or bad or any other descriptive term you could think of. I didn't walk into this match feeling any of those things because of who was involved. I'm like, all right, I got to see Tormenta and I see Sachez. But they being a commentating team seem to want to make this match about getting revenge. Whereas it should have just been a small thing within maybe their history. But it shouldn't have been about that. Like, they tried to make this hinged on Tormenta's getting revenge for her friend, Sofia Lopez. And you see where she got slapped in the face by Lopez and slapped in the face by Sachez, did Lopez, and whatever. Why? It was almost half a year ago that this, and why is this match taking place now as some sort of level of revenge? I can't imagine if I walked up and smacked your best friend in the face right in front of you. and it took you 5 to 6 months to say or do something about it. That is my issue here. I cannot imagine any circumstance where that would take place other than legality or something like that. And it's not like they had some sort of war of words. It's not like they tried to keep this hot. This is a cold match that used an angle that they did in reality probably over a year ago to try to get something off on it. And I did not feel it. It just seemed like, why? So, the commentators also start selling the idea that Sachez wanted to be a singles wrestler, which is why she's out there by herself. Got a different opening. She's got some like mock bandoleros that come, on her outfit. So she's the bandita now, opposed to a part of Los Banditas. A team that never really got to go anywhere, and I do not expect much more out of Sachez as a singles. She's probably going to be there and do the job for several people. I don't know why or how, and this has been going on long enough now, but they constantly, if the slap from Lopez is bad enough, Tormenta, Mexican champion. I was like, how long are we going to stick with this? Wild does some very, very surface level things, and that is where most of these people start, and that's where they stop. Just like I said with Classmaster, her defining characteristic on this show is that she's tall. That's it. Tormenta's defining characteristic on this show is that she's the Mexican champion of an unidentified promotion in Mexico. And they carry on and on about it. And it is the one thing that was supposed to be like the justification for her getting a title shot at all. Well, she is a Mexican champion. It's like, what? So what? What does that mean? I got it. You did it once. But it's been on and on and on and on. It is the only thing that they can point at with Tormenta as something useful. Not that she's part of a good tag team with Princess Ozzy. Not that she's, seen the light and she's now working with Sophia Lopez to try to earn herself back into a title. Nothing. Just, it's the Mexican champion. Come up with something else. It's not that hard. Anyhow, Tormenta wins with the top rope dropkick. I mentioned that because much like I said with the Mites, and I think Tormenta before, and in some cases the Banditas, these are the persons that are able to get viewers back into the match. Because regardless of what people say about, wrestling's this and wrestling's that and wrestling's fake, Tormenta has an ability to make some people believe in her. That top rope dropkick looks great. Now, there was a point in the match that I think one of the slams that Tormenta did to Sachez didn't go quite as smoothly, but overall the match was fine. And then she goes up to the top rope for a finish. Normally it's a Meteora. But when Sachez sits up and Tormenta comes down with the drop kick, and she nails it, like I was hard pressed for anybody in that room around me or otherwise to say that looked bad. And also I was like, if you feel like they took shortcuts or that is fake, you sit out there in the middle of the ring and watch somebody come down off of 8 feet with both of their feet towards your face and chest. That usually shuts up anybody that I was talking to there. It's like, well, yeah, because it looked great. But it had to follow Roxxy Fierce and Classmaster. It had to follow that botch fest, which takes some of the steam off of them. Never mind the fact that they were involved in this match under a stupid premise of an incident that took place almost half a year ago. McLean at some point in that match said that he didn't want to reward bad behavior, which I don't know what he's talking about because he rewards bad behavior all the time. First episode of this season, he rewarded bad behavior by giving top tier championship belts. You mean you don't want to reward bad behavior? Nothing there sticks to any sort of train of thought or logic. It's just I don't know why that even came out of his mouth. And I'm sure if I really thought about it, I probably could find like a dozen other examples. Where was Sophia Lopez? Why was this a match for revenge? Anyway, as they go to commercial, Dave McClain goes into overacting mode and gets Nigel to say women of wrestling with him when he does this little bit. And we're going to come back to the wow, women of, and he points at Nigel and have him say wrestling. And like I said, yeah, Dave McClain can be a bit overzealous at times, and this is one of those times. And I can appreciate his enthusiasm. I can appreciate his showmanship. I can appreciate what he does bring to WoW. I can appreciate those things. But he does need to dial it back some if he's trying to maintain an adult audience. He will be go away heat if he continues on the path that he's going. I have to speak for everybody. I have to make sure that, I go into oversell mode when we go into commercials. I got to be the one that do the commentary, whether I'm needed there or not. I have to be on the microphone when somebody, when some incident comes in, and I'll just blurt my opinions right into it. I got to be the lead interviewer when something's going on in the ring. I got to be the presentator. He does a lot. And that kind of overexposure after a while gets old. And I get it. I get it. When you're the guy that created the stuff, it's hard to get yourself out of the mindset of letting other people do things that you know how you want done. I understand. But he does need to designate something. And at the very least, get off a commentary, have somebody else do it so that you can do those other things. And it makes some kind of sense. But it won't happen. If you are interested, the match that they're referring to off of this incident that took place with Sophia Lopez, yeah, she was in it. I forgot. I meant to say Sachez, but Lopez is in there as well. So if you want to see where that incident, the slap, Sylvia Sachez, Sophia Lopez, Tormenta, and Angel Rose by proxy, that took place on Injured or Insidious, which was April 6th, was the air date, 5 months ago, as of me talking. This is too long of an incident that was not in an angle. The incident happened, nothing else really took place after that. It was too long of that to really be referencing now. Next segment, the commentators recap the video of Miami Sweet Heat winning the titles, and now the Mother Truckers have to pay their debt. Now keep in mind, because I didn't mention this before, but the match that was advertised was the All-American girls going for the tag team titles. So let's keep that in mind. The All-American girls come out in the next segment, and McClain completely counters what Lana said about her being excited and ready for the title match. She said that earlier in the beginning promo. Of course, McClain makes that out to be like, she didn't want to do this. And whereas that would be, a valid point with most heels, they should not want to do that. So in that regard, I agree. But Lana already said it. She's like, we're excited. And it's not like her presentation would lead you to believe that she's not. She comes off to me as a heel manager who not only is excited that she got the belts back, but I have now the utmost faith in them as the premier tag team in this company, and we can beat anybody. So I didn't necessarily like that Dave McClain tried to pull the rug out from that, because even though she's a heel manager, she's entitled to want to feel that way. Now, she should still cheat, and she should still want to take a shortcut, and she should still want to do the things that heel managers do. But her being excited about the match, no problem, because she can shift gears midstream. Her being a heel allows her to do that. Vicky Lynn, of course, is noticeably absent. There's been no explanation for that, and probably will not get an explanation for that. Speaking of which, where the hell is Sierra Breeze? I don't know why that just crossed my mind. Like, she was one of the last new faces that's been on WoW. Hadn't seen her since. Won one match, maybe out of 4. Hadn't seen her since. WoW does awful with debuts. Anyhow, moving on. Before the match starts, the Mother Truckers come out. And now they're just begging for a title shot. The crowd does not seem to care. And then McClain comes out and holds the mic. So what we have here is the Mother Truckers trying to get the title shot to wrestle against Miami Sweet Heat in order to pay off their debt. I don't know how that logic would work. And there is one thing that took place in this segment that saved it for me. And I'll get to that. So, McClain comes out to hold the mic. The All-American girls are asked to forfeit their title shot. I said, why? Why were they even getting the title shot to begin with? I have just assumed that the champions have some sort of, in this universe, championship prerogative. We can defend who against we want, and or we have an open contract. I just wish that they would explain that. I'm not opposed to them picking whoever they want for a title match. I'm not opposed to that. I just wish that at some point it's explained that, well, either we assigned it because that's the way that WoW works, or, they were number one contenders, for which I don't know how they would have done it, or it's open contract, or they were picked something, just to explain it. That's just me. So the Truckers come out and they start up, and this is, I'm sorry, this is not good. It's just not. It's not good for a couple of reasons. First reason here being is that, like I said, the Mother Truckers do not come off, at least for me, as likable in these situations. They don't seem to understand, and we're not talking about Amazing Maria or Hollywood J. We're talking about Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag. Okay, so I want to make that absolutely clear before we go any further. So, they just do not come across to me as somebody that you should or could root for in this thing. I know that they want the audience to root for them, but essentially what they're doing is they're coming out there, please let us have this match because, we got to pay this bill and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, my first question is how the match going to pay the bill? Because Lana Star has no obligation to put up any money in this match. She already won. All right? That was the first thing. Secondly, do they get paid enough per match that a match would allow them to pay the bill? If that were the case, wrestle more matches and pay it off. So I don't know why this would have been a different thing. Third, Big Rig Betty looks like it is as fake a cry as she could produce. I mean, they come out the ringside and they're holding their hand. Please let us, or Big Rig's doing that. And at some point, she's like wiping her eyes, like, look, I know that you, but mama to mama, look, and she's talking to Americana at this point. You know, let me get this title match with my daughter so we can try to pay this bill. You know how it is. And, you know, I know you and little Levi. And goddamn, they had to bring in Levi. They had to mention Levi. But, yeah, she does the little, like, fake wiping of her eyes. And this was not a good segment based on some of that. And then they get, you know, not Samantha Smart, who was that? Santana Garrett. Garrett answers and then passes the mic over to Americana. This is not Americana's strong suit. I'm sorry to say that, but it ain't. She is not a good promo. And they should just go ahead and recognize the fact that she's not a good promo. She doesn't give any emotion. She looked like she could care less about anything that was going on, about anything that was being said. There was no emotion to it. At least Santana Garrett stands there and smiles. She at least admits that. And she shows some level of emotion on her face, whereas Americana just got it and just as dry as a bone. I understand. You really pulled at my heartstrings talking about little Levi there. But goddamn, you know, to crank it up a little bit. So they do that, and please, wow. And I'm talking to whoever's, you know, either get her away from the microphone because it ain't her. It's not where she's good at. She's probably better in the ring than she is on the mic. She doesn't have the personality for it. At least not on camera, and that's not a knock against work in the ring because there's been plenty of people who've been good physically but just do not have it for whatever reasons on that microphone. And this is one of those cases. Well, I don't know if she has it in the ring, but it's one of those cases that she just did not have it on the microphone, at least not in this instance. She just don't. So she essentially agrees because, as she said, they tugged on her heartstrings and, you know, well, I'll do it. The condition being is that if you win, we get a title match. Now, this shows the American girls to be quite stupid because now you're hinging on whether they will actually win or not. And I mean, there was almost like no discrepancy behind it. It's not like they say, hey, look, no, you didn't earn this. This is our shot. There was no pushback to that. It's just, okay, just give us a shot, and here you go. And then they just wander off. So now I wrote down, in theory, this sounds fine. But if the truckers couldn't pay a $10,000 bill, how are they going to pay $20,000? That was what I wrote. But then the commentators started retroactively changing what the bill was. Now I'm positive that bill was $10,000 before. I'm positive of it. Now all of a sudden it's just $5,000. Like, how did this drop to a $5,000 bill? Well, I was very clear about it being $10,000 before. And then they retconned the debt. So, anyhow, the alleged match that everyone was waiting for, I don't know how or why. Because that's what Dave McClain says about every match. It's the match everyone was waiting for. Miami Sweet Heat versus the All-American Girls. That's the other problem that I had. If he really believed that, as the promoter, why would he allow this just to take place? Why? For what reason? Don't you want to deliver the match that you hyped up and promoted? You're the promoter. And other than circumstances forcing you to change it, then why would you, why do something different? But they step out, the All-American Girls give up the match, and then we go to the real main event. So we swapped out the main event, and whatever was delivered or whatever was promoted was not delivered. And we get another Mother Truckers versus Miami Sweet Heat match. And the bill is officially now referred to as $5,000 opposed to $10,000. But the reason that this match takes place is because Holly Swag blurted out, we'll do a double or nothing. She says that to Lana Star. And Lana Star jumps right on it. Good for her. She just like, okay, that's it. She said double or nothing, go. And I never thought I would say it. I never thought I would say Lana Star was the best thing that happened in this segment. Maybe on this episode. Because that statement alone helped pull this back into reality. That, and not just her, Swag. Because Swag blurts it out. And we'll do a double or nothing. And she's like, all right, well, okay. Hey, you heard her. You heard her. She said double or nothing. Let's go. And she's like, all right, it's easy money. And it still fits with her excitement about Miami Sweet Heat and the confidence that she relayed. This is what I'm talking about when there's some layers there. Whereas you have a Classmaster where the only thing that she's got going for her is that she's tall. Here, because Lana Star actually gets to talk and she actually gets to participate in something, there's a delivery just in how she speaks and what she invokes that lets you know what this is. There was confidence in her voice. Yeah, of course she was going to cheat. She's a heel. She's going to cheat. But the point is that she was confident about it. And she saw the money, not, anything else. The greed of the manager wanted that match. She made it work. In my opinion, she made this work. Whereas the All-American girls look, I don't want to say they look stupid for stepping away from it, but, they really had no justified reason to step away from this. But, okay, fine. They step away. This is the thing that takes her out of being in the pool of people that have no depth. Like almost every other wrestler there. Where the only defining characteristic is what they wear or something that McLean or Zane said about them. And I understood the plea of the mother truckers, but I just didn't understand why the All-American girls would get their shot up if these titles were that valuable. Like, what are we waiting for? When have they had another title shot? Why would they just get us up on the premise of her coming out there saying Levi with almost no pushback? If anything, I'm not going to say if it were me, it would have probably been a little bit of a tighter, a little bit more resistance. I'm not saying that they would have fought against them getting the shot, but it would have been a little bit more of, hey, these shots don't come around off. They would have had, the mother truckers would have had to work harder to have convinced them rather than just come out there and give a sob story like, all right, well, as long as you give us a shot, we'll do it. So anyhow, the main event changes. While attempts to make the mother truckers sympathetic, and that might have been more effective if they weren't so stupid and obnoxious. And you cannot say that they hadn't been obnoxious. You just go back and look at them when they was flipping through that inventory bill. Oh, you can't pay this bill, and now you're out here begging to save me from this little bill that I was harassing Lana Star about that I don't want to pay at all. They've been obnoxious and they have been dumb. And it's almost at a point where, like, are they not getting what they deserve? Like, where did the heels in this equation do something wrong? Other than, we're not talking about the match where they are going to cheat because they're heels and they're gonna. But just the angle in and of itself, where in this did Miami Sweet Heat or Lana Star do something wrong? They didn't. The truckers decided to just, hey, they think I'm Lana Star, let's run this bill up, even though the hotel just started randomly giving them stuff. Then they agreed to it under the premise that, we're not going to pay this bill, and then they lost, and now they're begging. It's like they don't come across as good people here at all. And the only thing that makes it anywhere close to being we should root for them opposed to the other team is that the heels exist. That's it. You're supposed to boo them just because they're there, not because of the actions that they took. The heels exist, therefore you boo them. That is the only logic that is applied here. So they start the main event, and it's been swapped out. It's Miami Sweet Heat taking on the Mother Truckers again. I guess that's their new feud instead of the Tonga Twins. And it was fine. I mean, it's an enjoyable match. I cannot knock the match in and of itself. Swag showed a lot of fire, especially when it started. She did something that I wouldn't have thought that she was going to. She hoisted up Lindsay and walked into the turnbuckles, basically. And when she starts off hot. She being Swag. And it's like she was rearing to go. Even with either member of Miami Sweet Heat. She does a great knee drop on the back of Laurie's head. I mean, so they really cranked it up and made the match interesting, although I don't know if, again, I don't think this audience gave a crap. I think they were just happy to be there and happy to do the thunderclappers and all that good stuff. You look out there, they're just like smiling away and then just rooting for everything. Just clap, 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 clap. So, Big Rig Betty gets into the ring after the tag. They still maintain control. It's not until Swag gets back in the ring, who has a lot of arrogance in her work. Almost heel-like, but a little arrogance in her work. She shoots Laurie off into the ropes. Lindsay catches her sister, so she's not in the rebound. So when Swag goes up for the drop kick, there's no one there for her to meet. And then Miami Sweet Heat take control. And it was everything that they should have done. They beat up on Swag. They beat up on Swag. They beat up on Swag. Other than the spot where Lindsay walks Swag around, it wasn't a full Oklahoma Stampede, but she has over her shoulder and she's just kind of running into some of the turnbuckles. Like one of them, she just looked like she gingerly pressed her up against the pad. But I understood where they were trying to go with it. So anyhow, the big spot of the match was the tandem move that Miami Sweet Heat does to Holly Swag. Of course, Big Rig Betty's out there. She's wanting to get her daughter out of the ring. She's yelling and screaming. Miami Sweet Heat doing a good job of keeping Swag isolated and off into the corner. And then they, like I said, they get to their big tandem move. Swag takes a headbutt on the top turnbuckle by Lindsay. Lindsay tags off to her sister. Swag takes the headbutt, she kind of staggers out to the middle of the rope and hoists her, well, not hoists her, but she's kind of like dragging and she's up leaning on the ropes. So it doesn't look like something that was obviously set up. They did this very well, I thought. And when she's there, then Lindsay grabs her feet and suspends her in the air. Laurie goes up to the top rope, and she comes down across Swag's abdomen with the knees. Looked great. Looked like they might have caught a little bit of Swag's knee and or thigh, possibly. But I mean, the move looked fantastic, and I don't think Laurie was tagged. I think Lindsay was the legal person. Now, the only issue that I had with that particular move is that I thought Big Rig Betty should have came in there for the save, opposed to Swag kicking out on her own. It was such a big move in this context that it should have been, I need to save her, opposed to she's fine on her. Like, it didn't look like she made any effort, and that looked good for that audience. If you had gotten some of those people to buy into the idea or trained them to believe that this could be it. If not for Big Rig Betty coming in there for the save, you might be able to get something out of that move later on down the line. But I don't know if they have that. I don't know if they were looking to do that. They should have, but I don't think they were. So we move forward. They're still getting the heat on Swag. They're still getting it. And Swag's trying to fight back. She finally gets herself into a position where she can get something over on Lord. She gets her out of the corner to a sunset flip. This is, of course, after they hoisted her up on the top rope, and it looked like she was trying to go for a superplex, but that was fought off, and it was fought off magnificently by Holly Swag. When she goes for the sunset flip, Laura's able to get out of it, and then she ducks underneath a clothesline and gets the hot tag off the Big Rig Betty. Now that, just a brief pause, that was a hot tag. It was a hot tag wasted in that audience, but it was a hot tag. Opposed to both of us are down, we're both crawling, we're both going to our partners, we both look up, we both tag at the same time, and then the match kicks off. This was a hot tag where she was trying to physically get past her opponents to get the tag to her partner because I can't take anymore. And the only way that we're going to win is if I can get to her so she can save the day. So I like that. I like that they at least did not follow the standard wrestling formula today that a lot of people do. Like, let's just tag at the same time. They put some effort into it. So Big Rig comes in. She's trying to do the cleanup. She knocks Lindsay off of the apron, gets Laura, gets her German suplex. Lindsay goes around after she's knocked off of the apron, and she pulls Swag down to stop her. Now, I forgot to mention that when they came out, Penelope Pink was out there with them. And so she's she's out there during this entire thing. It's another case of you know what you're getting because you've had this happen a dozen times already. And this is not any different. They just, Dave McClain, the mother truckers, Nigel said nobody said anything about, you know what, maybe she should leave. But she's there. So Lindsay pulls Swag off the apron. At the same time, Pink comes from the booth, or after going over to the booth to get a championship belt. She comes in. Lana Star gets up on the apron to distract the referee. Big Rig Betty is now knocked Laurie down with a German. Lindsay pulls Swag off the apron, as I said. Pink comes in and clocks Big Rig in the back of the head with the belt. She goes down. Pink rolls out. Swag is down on the apron. Lana Star lets the referee go to tend to what he's doing. And Laurie gets the cover on Big Rig Betty. Now they have lost twice in a row to Miami Sweet Heat. And their bill is now doubled, and they have not won the tag team championships. And the All-American girls, by proxy, should have been screwed out of their title shot because they willingly gave it up in the hope that the babyface team would win, which they just lost, so they just gave up their title shot completely. Did I cover all of that well? This is another one of those cases. How and why does Dave McClain allow this cheating when he's sitting right there and we know that he has full authority and ability to do stuff about it? Just why? Why does he do these things? Why does he sit there at ringside and allow these things to go on? Is he not the matchmaker, the boss guy, the head interviewer, the promoter, the everything underneath that and all things in between? Why would he not do or say something about this? Because it goes against the story that they're trying to do. That's why. Yeah, this was something. It was something. It wasn't a fully bad episode, but it wasn't great. And it's largely because of the narrative that Wild tells. Wild's narratives, a lot of times, for me, just can ruin a match. If you look at this match or this episode and its matches just for the matches, you're probably not going to lose all that much. If you're looking at this episode assuming that their matches mattered by and large, without that main event, none of them did. The Mother Truckers are, as a babyface team, are unsympathetic. The Brat Pack Dojo Defenders match, even though it should have had heat, did not. Classmaster and Roxxy shouldn't have been on TV at all. Sachez and Tormenta existed in a pretty good match, but they were hinging the match, they being the commentators, off the fact of something that took place almost half a year ago. And then you've got this match, the main event, where the Mother Truckers substituted for the idiocy of the All-American girls and lost again. It was interesting. Again, if you can watch this without thinking about the stuff that's supposed to be around it, you're fine. The one thing that you can watch and you can kind of get something from would be the opening segment and the final main event. At least that's consistent. And Lana Star shined in this environment. She did. So I have to give her that. To give her credit where it's due. It, particularly amongst the managers that she's there with, she shined. So that was it. That was the review. I do have one thing that I wanted to say. I know I brought it up before that when WoW moved to this season, some of the time slots have been shuffled around. I don't know what it is in your particular area. And I'm only aware of 2 off the top of my head. I know there's been a couple more that have flipped their broadcast time. But Miami on WBFS and New York, WLNY, unless they are just sliding it back and forth, the WoW broadcast now airs Sunday nights at 1 a.m. opposed to 11. So they shuffle. Well, I think New York ran it at 12. So at the very least, they shuffled it back an hour. So I say this to say that if you are in an area and you're no longer able to see it, you probably have to look for it. You may have to track it down. Again, I know Philly, what's that station? KYW is their main station. What's the other one? It's WPSG. WPSG, like I said, they moved theirs off of night altogether and just moved it to the middle of the day, at 12 noon. I think Texas moved theirs to 5 in the afternoon. So I don't know how this will really help WoW, because they had a hard enough time getting over 5,000 people just on Vice. And that airs for everybody at the same time. Yeah, and I don't even know if people even know that they air on Vice. But yeah, it airs on Vice. And it airs like at 12 and at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the last time that I saw any sort of ratings out of them, I mean, they literally had 5,000 people clocked in to watch that show for the midnight broadcast. 5,000 across the country. I mean, that was that. Take that in mind. It'd be different if 5,000 people looked at it on YouTube, but we're talking about 5,000 people across the country. TV with ads and ratings that they're supposed to hit. That makes it an unenviable spot. And I'm sure if they did not have some sort of connections, Vice probably would have pulled the plug on that thing a long time ago, other than maybe we just want to fill the time slot. But that's it, folks. That was an abbreviated version of the recap of WoW Women of Wrestling, or at least this particular episode of WoW Women of Wrestling. So, generally speaking, I would have given some sort of preview, but considering that I, as recording this, am not aware of when this will actually go up, I don't know if I should get into it as some sort of preview, because you may have actually already seen it. by the time I get to that. So I think on that, we're going to change that a bit. Going to skip past it. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit of abbreviation. And we'll go right to the finish because the next episode probably will carry all of those things. So if you are watching this or listening to it, please do all the things on your individual venues or platforms that you should do. Like, share, subscribe. If you're watching or listening to just the audio of this, you can leave a review. If you do not know where to get the audio of this, we are on greater podcast platforms everywhere, but you can also go to WPNWrestling.com and download all episodes because they all filter to that. It is the centerpiece for everything that we do. Never mind the fact that it also comes on YouTube. And I know that is a good chunk of the audience here to go to YouTube to view and listen to this. And I would ask you to do the same things there. Like, share, and subscribe. For those people who want to engage in the conversation as to the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unbelievable that WoW likes to produce. And also, if you have not liked, shared, subscribed, if you've done those things already, you can visit the website. If you've done that already, if you want to help this place out, you can either just go onto the website and go through the ads. Not asking you to do that, but that does help. I know there's been a couple of people there who, and I publicly want to thank you. There's been a couple of people who have gone on there and either watched some of the ads in that 24-hour stream, and they've credited us for it, and I thank you for that. But if you're not going to do that, the likes help. They always help. It always puts us in the algorithm. It always helps people find it a little bit easier when they're looking for some sort of review for WoW. It helps bring us up into that algorithm. It helps us get into the search results. So thank you for that as well. And now that we've done that, thank you for listening. We will catch you again on the next time around. And the close, as always, this is me. Well, I was going to say this is me. I'm going to rewind that a little bit and do this again. This is me as Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying that I will see you on the next go round. I think I fucked that up. Hey, you know, it's all good. It's fine. That's what happens when you get out of practice. This is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. That's the way it's done. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.